Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Sunday night. Hope everybody's doing okay. Lovely to see you guys here this evening. We've got a lot to talk about in the world of the Tennessee Titans. Certainly, it was a fascinating draft weekend over at St. Thomas Sports Park, and looking forward to diving into that with you guys tonight. Before we get rolling, need you guys to share this show around because I got a lot of insights, information. Is probably going to be a longer show, so buckle in, kids, because we've got a ton to go over. But I think that before we do anything, we need you guys to share this show around. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share now to public. It's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. If you are on Twitter, please retweet the show in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you are on YouTube or Twitch, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you throw a like on the video if you've done both of those things. Tell your friends to do the same, and we would be grateful for them that way. The sooner you do that, the sooner we can get this thing started, and I think that we can go ahead and roll while more people roll in here, and we'll get up and rocking. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Superbook Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I'm proud as always to be presented to you by our friends at Superbook Sports. Download the Superbook app today, and they'll match your first bet up to $1,000, win or lose. Superbook.com for terms and conditions is how you get in on the action today. Of course, you know that Two Rivers Ford presents the Two Rivers Ford Take. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. And you go to the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage for all of your intel needs. Real estate intel, that is, at the Ashton team. Nobody has better information on more properties than GaryAshton.com. TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch, the best place to work out. To get your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident, go to TrueMavFitness.com today. And we will go ahead and dive in on this draft class because 6 picks, all on offense. It was a really, really fascinating night over at St. Thomas Sports Park in ways that I was not really expecting. So I know a lot of you guys were shocked by the way that it went down. Thursday, we talked about it. Well, I didn't talk about it with you because we didn't do prime time, but you guys had Austin and Jack and Sam to do the live reaction show. And the Skoronski thing, everybody understood it after the quarterback situation played out the way that it did. Then you go on to draft Will Levis on Friday. You trade up to acquire Will Levis, the quarterback from Kentucky who had fallen out of the first round. You understood that there was going to be an opportunity for you to draft him in the first round if you felt like he was the future of your franchise. Why wait until 33 and trading up to 33 as opposed to taking him at 11? You'll hear from Mike Vrabel and Rancorthon on that here in just a little bit. The wide receiver situation, the fact that they did not draft one until the 7th round after all the different situations that we have talked about. In fact, I'll throw this draft class up on the screen for you guys to look at in its entirety, courtesy of the A to Z Sports graphics department. Peter Skoronski in the first round. You got Will Levis at 33. The team traded up to get him. A running back, Tyjae Spears, out of Tulane, whose medical history we will go over. Then there is tight end Josh Weil, tackle Jalen Duncan, adding additional competition to that offensive line group. And then in the 7th round, they take Colton Dowell, who's from Lebanon, Tennessee, played his high school football in Wilson County, went to UT Martin and has been a Tennessee Titans fan. He goes to games and really goes to things like training camp practices. I guess he must be a season ticket holder or just a diehard fan. He goes to these things with his dad. He's been doing it for years. He's born and raised in the area, and now he's a member of the Tennessee Titans football team. It's crazy how these things have worked out. And for the Titans, they're in a situation where all of the picks were on offense. We knew that the offense was the thing that needed the most work, but man, Are you, in words of Rancorthon, rolling the dice and letting the board play out in ways that made a lot of people uncomfortable? Austin Stanley's burner says, according to Next Gen Stats, Titans drafted the second most productive draft class. Why are people mad? Well, I think there is cause on the whole. Let me say this. All right. Before we get into, what they did or didn't do at wide receiver, before we talk about Will Levis, and I play you guys a clip from the press conference that we had with him on, what was that, Friday night, after he was drafted in the second round by the Titans with the second pick in the first round, or rather the second pick in the second round. I will say this. On the whole, I do like their draft. I'm not out on these players. I don't think that there is I don't think that among them there is a pick that I really take issue with as being completely and totally out on. We'll go through the Levis thing here in just a second. The questions that I have are about the value of the picks that they used on the players that they used him on, particularly relating to day 2 of the draft, where they took the backup quarterback, potentially the future of the franchise, we'll see, and a backup running back with Derrick Henry still on the roster. But, they said they view him as a 3-down runner, even though he's got a medical history. I think that for the Titans draft on the whole, it is a draft class that is fundamentally sound, right? It's not sexy. It's not flashy. It's very much who they are. Now, they did it all on offense, and Rancorthon said when we met with him last night, I guess, that he didn't realize until about 30 minutes after the draft that they had taken all of their picks on offense. They were just playing their board. But I do think it's a fascinating discussion, and that's the place that we need to start. What is the thing? What one word would you describe the Titans draft class with? The 2023 draft class. What one word would you describe the Titans draft class with? Let's talk about it together on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Right after I tell you that your Two Rivers Ford take is presented by Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet. They have all manner of quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service. Nobody does business better, with more honesty, with more integrity, and makes the car buying process faster, easier, or more fun than Two Rivers Ford. Go to tworiversford.com to custom order your next Ford. So how would you describe this draft class at this point? Your Two Rivers Ford take. I'll put the graphic back up on the screen, and you guys can look at the draft class for yourselves. One word to describe this group of 6 players: Skoronski, a tackle; Will Levis at quarterback; Tyjae Spears, running back, in the 3rd round. You don't have a 4th round pick because of Julio Jones. So Josh Weil, the tight end, they get him in the 5th. Now, keep in mind that at the time that somebody like Downs, the wide receiver out of North Carolina, went later in the draft, that like 8 receivers had gone at that point without the Titans taking a receiver, but taking Will Levis instead. That's where the questions about the value for those 2 players came into play. Then, of course, round 6 and 7, tackle Jalen Duncan from Maryland, and the UT Martin wide receiver Colton Dow. So how would you describe that draft class? I would look at that and say at this point that there's a lot of things to like about it, even if it doesn't do what you wanted them to do. Now, I still think that if I was a fan and if I was looking at this draft class, I'd probably be sick to my stomach. To be completely honest with you, I would probably be sick to my stomach. Now, that's not one word unless I hyphenated 2 of them. But like, if I was a Titans fan, I don't blame you. I saw people, doing the half-assed jersey burning. I don't know how many of you follow me on Twitter. The video of some dude who had it looked like a 2002 Eddie George jersey that he had hung from a bird feeder stand and like kind of lit on fire, but not really, like not put enough gas on it, because it was just it was on a slow burn. And it was described to me by many of you on social media. It's kind of like watching the Titans on offense, a slow burning, torturous death. But I still do think that there's functionality here. Now, the question is, are they done at the position beyond offensive line that they needed to address most? And we still have waivers. We still have players who will be cut in the coming weeks. We still have players who will be cut post June 1. And we'll see what happens with situations like DeAndre Hopkins, Corey Davis. Viable solutions to what this team still, I think, lacks at wide receiver in the draft class, because the wide receiver position, like I said, if I was a fan, it would make me sick to my stomach. But I will call this draft class functional in the way that they put it together, in the way that they went about sticking to their board, right, wrong, or indifferent. Whether you agree with their board, you will have a hard time finding a class that doesn't better represent who the Titans project to be.
I love the aspect of the game of being able to dominate someone for 60 minutes. I think that so much of that relies on physicality and violence, and just sort of like moving a guy against his will, and sort of getting him to fold. So I think that's really cool to think about. I think some of the best moments offensive line we'll talk about is like a series where you only run the ball, you just kind of beat the piss out of the defensive line, just run up the throats and move down the field, just because there's such a physical aspect to that, and just like mano a mano, kick their ass.
And that vibes right with Derrick Henry and how he is. So how much you looking forward to blocking for him?
That's kind of why I was definitely really excited to come here, because I know this team has that mentality, especially with Derrick and the offensive line. So really excited for that.
So that's Peter Skoronski, the Titans' first-round pick, 11 overall, the tackle, maybe a guard, out of Northwestern. It's functional. It's very much them. That's my one word to describe this draft class at this point. And what I would say to you guys is the wide receiver situation, and even the fact that it felt like we were being trolled. Y'all, I swear to God, sitting in that, it's so much fun to be back from, the off season in ways where we're all together, like we are in the press boxes, whether we're at Nissan Stadium or out on the road. It's not covering a game, but like the draft is so much fun. Like I hate the pre-draft process. I really, truly despise it. It's too much time. There's not enough interesting stuff about it, and not enough changes to matter meaningfully, I think, from, basically combine to when the draft actually occurs. But the draft is so much damn fun. And in sitting there in that Titans media draft room for 3 days with all my, friends and colleagues, trotting upstairs to do these press conferences every day, talking to these picks in the last couple of days, we thought we were being trolled. And then not only did we think we were being trolled, it was confirmed that we were being trolled when Mike Vrabel and Rancorthon are taking a tight end that maybe is a fullback, according to ESPN, in the 5th round when there are still wide receivers on the board. Jared Gibson says, Buck, you don't have friends. I know, but there are people who are forced to be in the same room as me who I'm going to consider my friends, because at this point, this is 7 drafts together for all of us. So they're kind of forced to be my friend by proximity. But yeah, we have a good time. I think that the functionality of the draft class, they got the wide receiver. They made a bit out of it on their own social media platforms, all these different things. And I thought it was pretty entertaining on the whole to watch this draft go down, because I really thought there's a chance that they might go through this entire NFL draft, taking every pick on offense the way that they ultimately did, but still not draft a wide receiver, like take a center or something like that. Jackie Holbert says that's an associate. I know. I'm gonna let you hear from Rancorthon and Mike Vrabel here in just a second. The question that I want to ask you is, how did you react to the selection of Will Levis? Because Skoronski, the running back, what you have at tight end now, additional depth on the offensive line, your worst position group, they've fortified it and they've completely turned it over in hopes that it can be meaningfully more competitive. But you still have significant need. So the question that I would ask you is about your quarterback situation now. What was your reaction to the Titans drafting Will Levis? Let me know on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Twitch, and we'll talk about it together right after I tell you guys about our friends at the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. GaryAshton.com is where you go for your dream address without the stress. The Intel Edge is what you get from the Ashton team. They'll put you in position to succeed. They'll help you sell your home without any showings or stagings. They'll help you find your next home while you sell your current one in this red-hot Nashville real estate market. They will help you cash in on your home equity and win the buyer battle right now. Nobody has better information on better properties than the Ashton team, so go to GaryAshton.com to get that Intel Edge today. So as you look at the quarterback selection, the Will Levis trade was fascinating, right? We're sitting there. We had just walked into the room. We had just walked in to the damn room for night 2 of the NFL draft. We had all witnessed everything that had happened around Will Levis, specifically the fact that he fell out of the first round, the fact that ESPN kept going to him in the green room, the fact that he was surrounded by women the entire time and nobody could tell who was who, but that became the guessing game because no NFL team was going to take Will Levis in this night. It was a tough scene to watch play out in ways that we all did very publicly.
Draft on ESPN as that man waits to hear where his future will take him next.
So that's his mom. She's sitting there with his dad. His sister and his girlfriend had been with him at various points to kind of, make sure that somebody was there with him, right? That's a very, very publicly humiliating situation. Whatever you think of the player, you don't wish that on anybody, right? It's shitty. It's tough to go through. The jokes were easy. I'll be honest, I made some because of what it was to see the reaction of Titans fans terrified that they would end up with this player. So the reaction to Will Levis, man, I mean, MB says, I hope Levis was humbled. Certainly that's, yeah, I mean, I don't know him personally to know that he needed that. There's a difference between humbling and humiliated. And maybe it motivates him in ways that, it's different. The burner says, Buck, were you in the war room? No, we're like, I don't know, we're probably like a hallway down from them while they do the draft picks. And then we're all in a room. They're in their war room. We go up to the main press conference room on the 3rd floor where everything else is at the end of every night. And then we do a Zoom call with the draft pick about 20 minutes after they get selected. So we talk to all the players on Zoom this week, and you're going to hear from Levis here in just a second, and Mike Vrabel and Rancorthon. But not in the war room, just, down the hall. And then we all do this weekend together. So it's basically like a lock-in with everybody that you work with, with the people that you cover and the people that you, that cover the team with different outlets. And it's a really good time. It's a drag by the end of it. You're really, really ready for pick. What was it? 259 at the end. But man, I haven't been a part of a dull draft for them in quite some time. Titans were better off drafting Buck in round 5, says Ario Carter. Jody Newell says he loved the Levis pick. Okay, I've not seen a lot of that. Dean Buckwalter wants to know why he dropped so far. Well, the tape is the answer, right? There are questions about his accuracy and his decision-making. Those are fair questions to want to poke at and pry at. So we asked Will Levis about the accuracy and decision-making. I believe it was Kaharski that asked the question. And this was the quarterback on his Zoom call with us after the Titans traded up to get him at 33 overall.
Your accuracy and your decision-making at this stage coming in?
Confident in it. I definitely have room to improve, but accuracy and decision-making, I feel like are a couple of my strengths. And especially at this next level, I know that they have to be taken to the next level if I want to be successful. So again, just looking forward to learning from, the staff and the other players to just develop me to be the best quarterback that I can be.
So that's Will Levis saying that he is confident in his accuracy and decision-making. The turnovers are notable, right? We've talked about Will Levis time and time again. You guys know that I was trolling a little bit on the radio show on Friday. Very much trolling a little bit on the radio show on Friday because I did think it would be interesting for them to take him. I really did not think they would take him once he fell out of the first round and they passed on him at 11 or didn't trade back to get him. Sorry, I hit the button again. It was said by Adam Schefter that the Titans did try and trade back up into the first round. If that was for Levis, that is intriguing. They did not disclose that information to us. But you guys know that I was all about the Levis pick on Thursday night, but then I was very after that. Once he started to spiral that way, I could completely understand why Titans fans wanted nothing to do with this selection. You were watching the draft at home with friends?
Yes.
What was the atmosphere like in your living room as you thought very much so that the Tennessee Titans could take Will Levis at 11?
The fear in our hearts during picks, I guess, what was it, after the Colts selected Anthony Richardson? 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Yeah. Excruciating. And I think a lot of Titans fans could say the same. Now, obviously, you're not totally out of the woods yet.
Nope.
And if you're like me and you've been on here for months saying that absolutely not, you cannot take Will Levis as your future franchise quarterback, you're not out of the woods because he is on the board and the Titans pick at 41 later this afternoon. But fear, that is the answer to your question.
I wanted it so badly.
I know you did.
I wanted it so badly. Do we have the audio of me trying to manifest Will Levis to the Titans into existence?
Yes, we do.
That would be it wouldn't be for us. You and I would come in here tomorrow and we would have the time of our lives. That's
Speak for yourself.
Not because we're preying on any evil. I just think that'd be funny as hell. Like people would absolutely there would be a crisis, and that
I don't take pleasure out of people's pain the way you do.
I don't. It just tends to make.
You don't. Just the time of your life is what you just said. You want the Titans to take Will Levis so bad because of the pain that it would cause your audience. So do not look at me and say, no, I don't take. Yes, you do. You absolutely do.
I don't want bad things to happen to them, but I also want good things to happen for the show. And the best possible thing, the worst possible thing for them to do tonight is to take like Skoronski, the tackle that may be a guard. I don't want to walk in here and do that tomorrow. I don't want to do that show tomorrow, even as that might be the best possible thing for them. That kills me. That kills you. That kills us. Well.
What do you have to say for yourself?
I'm pissed. I wanted disaster. I was praying on it so bad. We were sitting in the media room in the facility last night. It was me and Rexroad. And Rexroad, I don't know if he's just gone full clickbait journalism or what. I think it's because he's got a talk show now. Rex and I were looking at each other across the room being like, we need Will Levis. We need Will Levis. Meanwhile, Kaharski's yelling at us in the corner. No, he's terrible. He's inaccurate. He's a terrible decision maker. And we're just praying for ourselves and for the sake of content. Give me the quarterback that nobody wants. I'm shameless. You guys know me. I'm always honest with you. I want what's best for interest. And the Levis pick is fascinating. I really didn't think they'd do it. Sam Cardina says, Buck ain't shit. You're right. It's okay. I'm good with it because I got exactly what I wanted. I got the most interesting. The only thing that would have been better for me personally, just in terms of, listen, it's not my fault. The bad stuff does better. But if they'd have taken 6 picks on offense and not taken a wide receiver, even if it was the 7th rounder, I mean, that you guys would have lost your damn mind. Now, listen, we're going to do this for 3 hours on the radio show tomorrow, and I think it's going to be a roller coaster ride. I really do. And you guys, honestly, I think a lot of you are handling it a lot better than I expected you to. Sam on YouTube says, Buck wants the controversy and the chaos. Truly, I do. I want what's interesting, and this is fascinating. Why do they feel so good about Will Levis when the rest of the league is saying, nah? It was reported that he did not interview well. The tape is in very drastic contrast from 2021 to 2022. We all have heard the qualifiers about how different Kentucky was as a football team from 21 to 22, but he still did not produce in ways that you expected a player of that talent, or at least who we thought he was, to be able to replicate or elevate a little better. Now, we asked Rancorthon these questions. We asked Rancorthon about the situation for Will Levis and then Tyjae Spears. That was not without controversy either. We're not going to have a ton of time tonight on the primetime show to spend on the Tyjae Spears pick, because Friday, that's what I said. I like their draft for the most part, but Friday was inexplicable to me. The running back with all manner of knee concerns, even though he was hugely productive last year, and the quarterback whose decision-making is questionable and turns the ball over at a really significant rate. What is it that makes them think that these were sensible picks given the needs that they had on the roster? I got a couple of texts from people around the league, okay? And I was talking with a couple of people about these selections because we were all in disbelief. Truly, we were all in disbelief that they had gone through this process and taken a receiver as late as they did, with so many other receivers available to them at so many other points. You thought waiting to take Des Fitzpatrick in the 4th and trading up to get him was bad? They waited till the 7th and said, bleep it. Again, whether they're done at wide receiver, Mike Vrabel, we asked him about it last night at the end of the draft, all 6 or 7 rounds. And he said, well, yeah, it's good enough for Monday. The roster now isn't going to be the roster in September. So maybe the waiver wire will afford them the benefit of a better player than exists through their draft process or through their free agency, because Chris Moore, man, he's coming off of a career best year, and he was just a little better than Robert Woods was in 2022. Just a little bit for Houston, and only in 7 games. And was it, he's a journeyman, really nothing more, and maybe a special teams contributor. But the justification when we asked Rancorthon and Mike Vrabel about this on Friday was so mind-boggling. Again, and as I say to you, I largely like their draft. With Levis, though, and Spears, when they took them at the points that they did, we asked the general manager and the head coach about this, and this was their response.
Know how many didn't miss much time at all. Was a full participant throughout the week at the Senior Bowl. I think both of us are comfortable with where we're at with Tyjae and what his availability will be going forward.
Yeah, right.
That may change, but feel good about where it is right now.
That's where I was going, Rand, with you on Tyjae. Just what stands out about his skill set when you watch him play, and how do you feel like he is as a compliment to Derek?
No, he's a 3-down runner. He can run between the tackles. He's elusive. He can make guys miss, as well as contribute in the passing game. He catches the ball well out of the backfield. He's a good route runner. Just another, guy that can do it all, for us, and you can put him in the game in any situation, and there'll be some production there. I just want to say something real quick. Today and as yesterday, these kids are living their dreams, right? Having their name called, realizing the dream and being drafted. And I don't want these, interactions between us to always feel like we got to take a negative turn. And, this should be a joyous moment for us to praise these kids. This is a moment, these kids are going to see this. And this is a moment for them and their families to rejoice in, because it's only going to happen once. We joked, earlier about, Jim and I joked earlier about me not being drafted, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's a moment, in my career I can never get back. Coach was drafted in the 3rd round. It's a moment he'll always remember. So let's keep that in mind, when we're talking about these kids and where they've come from and because a lot of these kids have overcome a lot, to get to this point, so let's keep that in mind in moments like this. There'll be other times to critique what they've done. These kids haven't even stepped on the NFL field yet, so let's keep that in mind. This is a moment for them and their families to have something to be proud of and enjoy this moment.
We looked around at each other after Rand said that, like, what the hell? What is he talking about there? Now, listen. His point is that this is a very, very unique moment. I've never been drafted in the NFL. I don't know what it's like to be Bryce Young, who went first overall and is guaranteed, $34 million on his rookie contract. I don't know what it is to be, Josh, is it Josh Weil? I need to throw the graphic back up on the screen. Sorry, I'm still learning these guys' names the way that you are. Josh Weil, the tight end. I don't know what it is to be Josh Weil, drafted in the 5th round, knowing Mike Vrabel, having, played at Cincinnati, coming up a certain kind of way and really vibing with the Titans. I don't know what it is to be these guys or their moment. So I understand what Rand's point is, but it played defensive because the press conference was tense, and it was justifiably so. As I said to start the show, if I was a fan of this football team, I would be disgusted by this draft. Now, these players could all pan out to be phenomenal. They could pan out to be above average. They could be, some of them good, some of them, good enough to make it through a rookie contract at the 5th or 6th round level. Like, they could turn into productive players. Who's to say? But the optics of it are horrendous, are truly, truly bad. And to look at the situation for the Titans at this point, and for Rancorthon to sidebar us in the middle, kind of wag his finger and say, hey, let's remember this. Their parents are going to see this. People are going to watch this after the fact. And, he might be right, but I don't care. I want to know what it is that made you feel justified in taking the quarterback, 33 overall, trading up to get him after he slid out of the 1st round. And the questions are about his accuracy and decision-making. I would like to ask more questions about that. I'm sure Will Levis is not so thin-skinned that he hasn't been asked a million questions about that before, all season long. I would like to know more about the running back's health and his medical situation. Yes, he has overcome it in the last season, but based on my understanding, the man has had significant knee injuries. He already plays a position that is very disposable, and 3rd round is a tough scene. Those questions need to be answered. It's not because, it doesn't affect me one way or the other than, we're there to ask the questions. Koharski, that was a Jim Wyatt question just about Tajay Spears' production, and he felt the need to sidebar that way. Like I said, his intentions were good, I think, on the clip. And there's another, the roll the dice playing the board bit about the wide receivers. It pissed a lot of people off. I thought he phrased it poorly. I thought he needed to read the room. It just played kind of unaware of what this fan base is and what that position means to this fan base because of how rarely you've hit it and what just happened in last year's draft with the guy that you gave away, right? So people are easily triggered about the wide receiver position. So rolling the dice, playing the board is not going to play optically well. But I thought that played weak. I thought it played defensive, even as I understand he was well-intentioned. But don't tell us there will be a time to ask these questions. No, this is the time to ask these questions. They will be asked these questions upon their arrival as well. They were in the Zoom call with us, and they handled them just fine. So I don't know if it came from a place of, hey, we were going at the kids too hard, or if he was defensive about the selections being questioned as his in his first NFL draft. Whatever his motivations for that, let me just say something real bit. You gotta understand what it is that you're dealing with right now. Mike Vrabel was not a participant in that conversation. He nodded his head in agreement, but Mike just sat there and looked straight ahead, and later gave a quote about, if the NFL draft is the best night of these guys' lives, then they probably didn't have a good NFL career. So, Mike gets it. The players get it. I'm certain Rancorthon does too, but that, he's got to be able to read the room better in that moment. That was a bad look from Rancorthon. Even as I said, I thought that I overall thought the draft class was solid, but solid is not what this franchise is looking for. They need something to compete. And right now, it does not look like they still have the necessary weaponry to be the kind of offense that they legitimately need to be against the competition. They were showing graphics all over the weekend about the AFC South quarterback situation. Now that Richardson, Stroud, and Levis are all here alongside Trevor Lawrence and one more year of Ryan Tannehill, all these different things that are going to come out of this division. And then the AFC in general, right? Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson is back. This is going to be a fascinating year in the AFC, and the Titans are doing things fundamentally Titan. There are still personnel acquisition opportunities for them ahead. So the wide receiver situation may not be finalized. But man, is that a read the room type situation that you have to be more cognizant of. All right, let's talk about your favorite pick in this year's draft class. Who is your favorite selection that the Titans had from the 6 players, all on offense, that the Titans did take? MB says, I don't think certain questions were necessary at that time. Well, I'm sure you could go line by line and determine what you feel was necessary or not necessary. I didn't think anything that was asked was unfair. I didn't think anything was particularly aggressive. I honestly thought Koharski handled himself really well. We were all looking around like, what the hell are they doing? Truly, what the hell are they doing? I walked out of Friday's press conference thinking they aren't a serious team. They aren't taking this as seriously as everybody else is. Why aren't they taking this as seriously as everybody else is? What am I missing here? And Vrabel gave a quote the other night about, trusting them and that they are determined to add players that they feel are going to help their football team. But ultimately, I think that you have to understand it's not just about the optics of the marketing. And I know that their job is to just make sure that the football team is better. But man, was that a difficult situation to overlook if you're a Titans fan dealing with all these different things. So who's your favorite selection? Eric Alonso says the wide receiver. Colton Dow from UT Martin, who we'll talk about here in just a little bit. I liked a couple of the picks. I did like the tight end, Josh Weil. I think that he is somebody who could pair well with Chig. I think that works with Trayvon Wesco. I think that gives them a variety of different options, and they're probably going to be running heavy tight end personnel sets, 12 and 13 all over the place. Eric Garce liked the first round pick, Skoronski. He thought, Skoronski is a premium player at a position that they needed help at, and is going to make them a better football team. Skoronski is going to be a good player. And again, I'm going to play you this quote from Peter Skoronski earlier, talking about why it is that he plays with the violence, his why for why he plays the game with the violence that he does.
I love the aspect of the game of being able to dominate someone for 60 minutes. I think that so much of that relies on physicality and violence, and just sort of like moving a guy against his will. Sort of get him to fold. So I think that's really cool to think about. I think some of the best moments offensive line we'll talk about is like a series where you only run the ball, you just kind of beat the piss out of the defensive line, just run up the throats and move down the field, just because there's such a physical aspect to that. And just like mano kick their ass.
And that vibes right with Derrick Henry and how he is. So how much you looking forward to blocking for him?
That's kind of why I was definitely really excited to come here, because I know this team has that mentality, especially with Derrick and the offensive line. So really excited for that.
So that's Peter Skoronski. Quick reminder that the Primetime Show is presented by TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMavFitness.com to get your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. A lot of you guys have been very kind to comment on how much weight I've lost, how much physically better or thinner my face looks, because I lost 52 pounds going to TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch here in Middle Tennessee. It's the best place to work out. The classes are fantastic. No workout ever recycled or repeated. Mondays, lower body. I'm fired up about it. Had a really, really good week of workouts to keep me, physically active despite sitting in a chair for 16 hours a day. at the Titans practice facility. TrueMathFitness.com is where you go to check out all their membership options, whether you're somebody who's into group workouts, personal training, or their open gym. TrueMathFitness.com. And like I said, your first workout is free. So the favorite pick that I had from this draft class, I hear really good things about Colton Dow. My friend Emery Hunt of CBS Sports is going to be on the radio show tomorrow. He is an unbelievable resource when it comes to day 3 and undrafted small school prospects who can ball, right? Emery knows these small school dudes. Emery is one of the best resources. His website, Football Game Plan, has been something that I've been reading for years. Emery's going to be on the radio show tomorrow to talk about Colton Dow. His athletic situation is, or his athletic testing scores. I want to call them the relative athletic RAS. I forget what RAS stands for off the top of my head. I'll be able to look it up for you guys here in just a second. But basically, it takes their measurements, it takes their testing numbers, and it measures a relative athletic score based on their explosion, their speed, their power, their burst, all these different things. RAS is something that these players, each of them, rates very highly in. So they're clearly valuing athletes at every position. Now, how applicable that's going to be to their offensive linemen, where the goal was to get faster and they didn't add a wide receiver who's not necessarily a burner. His fastest time, he told us, was 4.40 or 4.41 in the 40. He's not somebody who straight line speed will blow you away. So that's the thing that we continue to wonder about the Titans. Now, what this offense is going to look like with the tight ends that they've added as well is going to be curious. And, ultimately the play calling and how they position these guys to get explosive plays from time to time is going to be, they've got to be better on offense. We know how badly they struggled last year. So all these different picks that you look at, which one was my favorite? I do think Skoronski helps them in every way that they need it, right? Pass protection and run blocking for Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry needs more help. Ryan Tannehill needs more help. Will Levis will need more help. Malik Willis, for however long he's on this roster, will need help if he needs to play, right? So I think that Skoronski is probably the pick that excited me. Excited me is not the right word, but I understood how badly they needed it, and I understood why it is that they did what they did. Now, my favorite was probably Levis, because I know it's going to do great ratings. It's going to carry me into the summer. I've already asked to have him on the radio show. The rookies don't get into town. I know Skoronski's already been here, but the rest of them don't get into town until Thursday, I believe, is the first day that they could be in the building, is what Mike Vrabel said. And then rookie minicamp is right around the corner. So we'll see at what point we get Levis on the radio show. And I want to talk to a couple of these guys, even though we've already had Zoom calls with them. But, obviously the Levis thing is fascinating. It's a quarterback situation. And he, as a prospect and a discussion around the prospect, is, something that's going to continue well into the season, especially if Ryan Tannehill struggles. But there will be time for that. All right, let's wrap things up. This is the free site. What's the best thing that you saw happen on draft weekend? Let me know on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We'll talk about it together in the comment section right after I remind you that Superbook Sports is where you go to get in on the action. Great playoff hockey taking place over the last couple of nights. Basketball, the NBA. We're going to get the Lakers and the Warriors in the second round after Golden State advanced past Sacramento today. It's going to be a lot of fun, and there's no better place to get the best odds boost and promo bets than Superbook Sports. They're the best sports book out there, and they will make sure that you enjoy the experience. They're adding promo codes at this point to the A to Z Sports for the A to Z Sports listeners, and we'll be able to tell you about those later in May. But in the meantime, you can go to superbook.com, get terms and conditions, Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. So looking at the all the different things that happened on the draft weekend, the Titan situation was interesting. Mike Conley says Monty Ossenfort killed the draft for the Cardinals. Wish we had him and not Ran. Well, it looks nice now, but at this point, we have no idea what those things are going to pan out. I will say that Monty has a hell of a lot more to work with next year than Rand does. They still do not have assets in 2024. It's really, the cupboard is really, really bare, and they're not getting compensatory picks next year. It's tough. We had no assets or picks. Can't blame it on Rand, says JR. I mean, yeah, but they did give away more assets, which is what ultimately that Levis trade is going to be judged on, because they gave around their 2024 third round pick in addition to swapping thirds with excuse me. Yeah, they swapped thirds with Arizona and gave Arizona additionally their 2024 third round pick. So they are really not working with a ton next draft process. What was the best moment from draft weekend? I don't know how many of you saw the Cowboys moment where Deuce Vaughn's dad ultimately was the one to make the draft call, put him on the phone with Jerry Jones. Really, really cool moment. But the thing that honestly that made me laugh the hardest of all the different things this weekend that went down is after the Titans drafted Josh Weil, the Cincinnati tight end / fullback, Cincinnati H-back, we'll call him. And the NFL Network broadcast flashes to the Titans draft room. Now, you have to remember that this is the first pick that they made on Saturday after drafting Levis, drafting the backup running back, and not adding a wide receiver without a fourth round pick, right? So this is the fifth round. Surely to God, they're going to take a wide receiver, and they don't take a wide receiver. In fact, they didn't even take a wide receiver in the sixth, right? They waited till the seventh to draft Colton Dow. And so they flash to the Titans draft room, and there is Mike Vrabel, there is Rancorthon, and there is their staff. And what are they doing? Looking at the camera, smiling and waving without a wide receiver, and just grinning in everybody's faces.
On the clock with Vrabel, making the phone call, pick is in. Oh, we'll get a little wave.
Hi,
What's
Braves.
going on, guys? Titans drafts actually look pretty strong.
The wave. The wave was hilarious. Now, it pissed a lot of people off. It pissed a lot of people off, especially because a lot of Tennessee Vols fans were very, I would call it butthurt at them for passing on Hendon Hooker, taking Will Levis, and then, citing things like marketing opportunities for why they should have taken Hendon Hooker over Will Levis, as if that is any kind of logical reason. It was funny to watch the reaction from a certain segment of Tennessee Volunteers fans who were just completely unhinged. But yeah, the trolling, the smile and wave, boys, smile and wave after taking the fifth round. After taking the fifth round tight end without a wide receiver, man. We just looked around at each other in the media room and just like, they have to be kidding. I said a lot worse words. I said they have to be kidding. And sure enough, they were looking right back at us, just smiling and waving. Same as they were looking at you. Unreal. Mike Conley says, bullshit. Hooker was our guy. Well, no, he wasn't your guy. He wasn't their guy. So, clearly. And by the way, the rest of the NFL let Hendon Hooker go quite a bit further after Will Levis was taken. So, I mean, really, was Hendon Hooker a third round pick by Detroit? I believe so. We'll probably do the Vols in the NFL draft show, because that was a fascinating scenario. We're going to talk about it a lot on the radio show too. I believe Hendon Hooker was a third round pick. So, all of the Vols guys other than Darnell Wright, there was not one that went in the second round, ironically enough, which was an interesting talking point for me. But I do think that the smile and wave moment was pretty funny. The Deuce Vaughn and his father thing for the Cowboys was cool, but I'm not really here for the sappy stuff. I'm here for the shit talking, and that definitely felt like a moment where the Tennessee Titans and Mike Vrabel in particular were shit talking America. The local shows tomorrow are going to be funny. Yeah, I'm going to have a time on the radio show, kids. It's going to be a banger. I can't wait to have you guys on. We're going to 3 hours wall to wall Titans draft talk, and we're going to spread it out throughout the course of the week. It's going to be exhaustive. We're going to have all kind of experts and analysis on with me to talk about this Titans draft. You guys are going to, always be welcome as a part of the participation process, because I know how much you guys love to get on the phones, and I know the phone lines are going to be rocking tomorrow. So hang out with us from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. And by the way, I have to remind you on the way out the door, now that the Titans 2023 draft class is officially in place, we are fully prepared, locked and loaded to have the live edition of the Install podcast with Greg Cosell of NFL Films at the Hutton Hotel coming up on May the 20th. I want to see you guys there. I know we've sold a lot of tickets already. I know that there are still a lot of tickets available. You had to sell, and they said, don't worry, you got plenty to work with. I said, okay. We'll get it going. And we're going to do a Q&A session with Greg, right, about this draft class. I know a lot of you guys have football questions for Greg in ways that, like, schematically, I'm never going to be able to answer. But that, I think, is going to be fascinating. And like I said, the guests that we think we're going to be able to bring in for that, I'll be able to tell you a little bit more as we get closer. We're less than a month away. But you guys are going to really enjoy that. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you. So 1045thezone.com. Will there be a call-in, says MB? No, it's not a radio show. It's just a podcast. This isn't airing on 1045. You gotta come to the podcast if you want to get the podcast, right? Because we're going to do the podcast this Wednesday. Greg and I, we're going to do the podcast every Wednesday until the live show, but we're not doing the Titans draft class on the podcast. We're doing the AFC South this week, as a matter of fact, because the AFC South is a shit show, kids. Holy hell. Richardson, Stroud, Lawrence, Levis. It's gonna be crazy. So yeah, you're gonna, if you want to talk Titans in this draft class, the live show is going to be the place to do it. Now, eventually we'll put those up. But it's going to be, that's almost a month away at this point. And I know you guys really value Greg's insight and information. I know Greg is fired up to come to Nashville and break it down with us. So it's going to be good. 1045thezone.com. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the radio show. 10 a.m. is when we're going to get started. And of course, another primetime show tomorrow night. See y'all.
Are you surprised to hear that?
Certainly not. The first year we took it to the limit. And I was in Miami with my new beach house. Well, it was a couple minutes from the beach.
It's been 20 years since then. We haven't been too strong in the last few years.
Oh, we've been strong. We're just playing by the rules. You can't have a newcomer come in and steal a show.